If you say that these words caused these people to do these things, then you must also be willing to accept the standard that those words can be used against you and your own words. And the issue of speech, and specifically incitement via speech, seems to be the hot button issue right now that I feel so many people fail to hold themselves to a standard on. If the right says something like, all people that fall into this type of category, have these immutable characteristics, are doing X, Y, and Z, and support A, B, and C, then in the event that some type of harm or some type of tragic event would be to happen to those people, they must be willing to eat the fact that it is on their hands, theoretically, that they said those words and thus contributed to the incitement or the encouragement for other people to do something as a result of what they said. Because if you're going to say that people that say certain things about a specific topic are then contributing to and are therefore somewhat responsible for what happened, you must also be willing to hold yourself accountable to that standard. But I see so many people on the right and the left be so hypocritical about this very specific and pertinent issue. I think it's fair to say that if you believe that America is the greatest country in the history of the world, it's this experiment that's lasted nearly 300 years, and it has created more prosperity and freedom and peace for the entire planet than any other organized nation in the history of human existence, then you must also believe that the founding doctrines and principles put in place by the people who founded this great nation were derived out of great intelligence and foresight. And if you believe all of these things, you must also recognize that the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a very specific reason. We all understand the importance of being number one and a thing that happens first. So to just casually dismiss the First Amendment as being not significant that it's first would be clearly wrong. I hope we can all agree on that, right? It is likely because the First Amendment is perhaps the most misunderstood and riskiest to be without. If somebody was to say, these podcasters, these creators, these social media people, these politicians, these public figures are responsible for a harm coming to a group of people as a result of what they said, then everybody who says things is accountable for anything that happens to that opposing group, no matter what it is. If Donnie says something like the left is trying to ruin our country, or they're trying to bring in all these, they're trying to ruin America, then any harm that came upon the left would thus, under this logic, be responsible to and or contributing to it. Now, if you want to hold these beliefs to be true, like you truly believe that, well, these words contributed to it, and I'm not going to deny that that's the case or not, that's not what I'm debating here. But you must then also take responsibility for your words and your words about other groups of people. And in the event that harm comes upon those people, then you must be also willing to accept that it is your fault as well. But this is the outrageous hypocrisy that exists on all sides of politics and all sides really of public commentary. Nobody holds themselves to a standard. Oh, these people said these things about this group, and therefore, in the event that that group gets harmed, then it's your fault. The blood is on your hands. Yet they're not willing to accept that same blame when it goes the other way. This hypocrisy, double standard, and lack of standards, I think, is the most infuriating thing to me about public commentary. It's like you're putting stuff out there and it's on record, and even if you delete it, people don't forget. So if I say people with green eyes have committed such and such crimes, and therefore people with green eyes are dangerous, and then they say, well, people with brown eyes are dangerous. People with brown eyes do this and this. If harm then comes upon people with brown eyes, you can't say, well, it's the people with green eyes that said that people with brown eyes do bad things. Even if what they actually do is true, and there's a variety of other extenuating circumstances where people are seeing people with brown eyes do things that they don't like. If the right said something like, oh, atheists are responsible for the downfall of society and all of these bad things are a result of atheists. We should try to make sure that they're not atheists, or we should not talk to atheists or welcome atheists, for example. And then some harm comes upon a group of atheists. All the atheists could be like, well, these groups of people said that atheists are doing bad things. The blood is on your hands. And then if the atheists say, oh, well, the Christians are blaming the atheists, but Christians do all these bad things. And then if something happens in the Christian community, for example, and then they say, oh, look, the Christian community is responsible for doing this. Look what happened. My point is that if you say that words are the sole or even partial contributor to a thing happening, then you must be responsible for your words having the same exact effect. And considering that there are a variety of extenuating circumstances that fall into all of these equations, I think to blame words even slightly would be a complete injustice to the actions that an individual takes, to chalk it up to the words of other people. Like, I said enough things about a thing, and therefore somebody went and took some action. Because it completely negates any of the other things that I could have done. It's just the words. Because even if you could prove that that person listened to the bad words that the other person said, to assign any blame to them for saying a thing that may be completely true or partially true or maybe not true at all in the eyes of that person means that words are tantamount to violence. Words are tantamount to inciting people. People do not understand that the freedom of speech, the freedom to speak, the words are the thing that is in the greatest jeopardy in this modern society and in the society of all free peoples now until the end of time. And to assign any blame specifically to speech is an error, even if you are emotional and or passionate about that thing and you believe that you can draw some conclusion. Because the only solution to loud emotional outrage is to limit the thing. So if you are principled and you believe in speech, and ultimately America and the First Amendment and the ability for free people to say what they want, then it is an unproductive line of commentary to suggest that a person says a thing or a group of people say a bunch of things and then another person's actions are directly responsible or at the very least partially responsible for what that person did. And if you do want to do that, then you better expect that you will be held accountable for the exact same thing. And all of these roads lead to the exact same place, which is the policing of speech, the limitation of speech, and thus the limitation of free thought to be distributed by free people now until forever. Remember that. First Amendment is first for a reason.